Hello everybody and thank you for joining me. This is Sierra from Sierra T Designs, and today I have this beautiful floral mini slimline card and matching envelope to show you. So let's jump right in. So to start, as you guys know, I like to cut down my cardstock, and as this is a mini slimline card, I like mine to be 6 by 6 and then scored at the 3 mark. So it's a 6 by 3 inch card, which I don't think that there's a specific mini slimline size. I'm pretty sure it kind of ranges around this size. This is just my preferred size, so this is just what I tend to do. So I'll cut down a cardstock to 6 by 6 and then score at the 3 inch mark. And then I am going to stamp out this beautiful floral stamp from Simon Says Stamp. This is the Spring Bouquet stamp set, the rose one. There's 2 bouquets in that stamp set. And I know that I used this one last week, but you guys, I'm so in love with it. I love flowers. I don't know if you guys have noticed, I do a lot of floral cards, but I just really love floral images. And of course, so this one sings to me, and this one I just got in, so I have to use it on all the things. But I am stamping it out in VersaFine Onyx black ink, and I am going to cover it in some Wow Matte Dull Embossing Powder. I'm going to Copic color this, and this is not a Copic safe ink. However, because I am embossing it, I'm pretty much sealing the ink behind the embossing powder, so it can't smear when I use my Copic markers. This is a technique I've kind of just started using because I love the richness of this ink. I love how stark black these lines are, and I find with some of the inks that are Copic safe, they'll dull as I color over them because I sometimes touch the lines because I can't color in the lines apparently. So I find that they kind of dull down a bit, and you could again like restamp it if you wanted to. I'm too lazy to do that, so I like to. Right now I like to use a black ink that I'm really fond of, and then just cover it in embossing powder so it kind of seals it in, and then my lines can't be smudged or smeared or fade, which I really like. So I am going to use a mixture of 3 purples on this. I am using V12, V15, and V17, and I have a tendency to go lightest to darkest and then darkest to lightest. I always lay down a wash of my lightest color, which in this case is V12. Then I'll bring in my mid-tone, which is the V15, and then I'll bring in my deepest tone, which in this case was V17, and then I'll go back through them just to kind of blend out the colors. And I'm just going to show you this first bloom, and then we'll jump onto the leaves, and I'll color the rest of the roses off camera, but I'm going to do them all the exact same. And I just follow the lines that the illustrator has given you. So, I mean, you can see here on this bud that I've kind of followed the dotted lines, and you'll see it better when I hold it up at the end, but I kind of just follow the lines that they've given, and then that's where I put my shading generally. And then for the leaves, I originally was going to have a 3 color blend as well, but I'm going to have 2 because one of my markers dried up a little bit. So I have G16 and G19. Those are the 2 colors I'm using. And again, I just lay a wash of the G16 down, and then I bring the G19 in, and I'm pretty much just putting it into the centers. That's the only, like in the leaf, there wasn't very much shading necessary, so I kind of just added a darker center to each leaf, and then anywhere it would have laid over top. So in these 2 leaves that are here by the end of the bouquet, the roses, I added a bit more shading to those. And again, this will be a bit easier to see when I hold it up here in a minute, but that's just kind of my rule of thumb. And you can see that these are all actually, all of them except one, are original Copics. I've switched out my chiseled nib for the brush marker nib that come for the original markers. And that's why they have a little piece of washi tape on them, so that I know that those ones have already been done, and I know that there's a brush nib at that end instead of a chiseled nib. And then, of course, because I cannot resist all the glitters, I have a Spectrum Noir glitter pen here, and I'm just going to put it all over the roses, and I'll hold it up in the light here when I'm done, and so you can kind of see it. And I can't resist the glitters. I love glitter so much. I have to put it on everything. It's kind of like a condition, I think. Magpie condition, I don't know. But I just love the sparkles. So I covered all of the blooms in this Spectrum Noir pen, and I don't know how well you can see it, but I kind of hold it up there in the glitter so you can kind of see it in the light there. And I do own the matching dies to this set. I've been slowly collecting the dies for the Simon system, actually any of them, but mostly Simon's stamp sets that I really like. And now that I have my Gemini and it's not hurting my shoulder to use it, I am quite fond of buying the dies. They are a bit pricey, but I think for the stamp sets that you use consistently, like the florals for me, they're totally worth it. It's just a little easier in my card designs. And I do have the Magic Mat there from scrapbook.com. This thing is a plate lifesaver. I've been using it now for a little while, and I quite enjoy it. You cut down into it instead of into your plastic plate, and it saves the plates. I haven't had to replace my plates in quite a while, so I'm pretty excited about that. If you guys want, I can do a video more exclusively on it and kind of show you how I do my sandwich and whatnot. If you want that, leave me a comment down below and let me know if that's something that would interest you. So I did decide that I wanted to stamp inside the base of the card, and that's just some Wilted Violet Distress Oxide ink, and I just stamped it in the base. And then I am going to stamp my sentiment down on my card front as well. So I have Sending You Love, I believe it is. This is a card for a girlfriend who just lost her husband, which is really, really heartbreaking and sad. So I really wanted to send her something that made her know that I was thinking of her. So I have Sending You Love as my sentiment, and then I just added some foam strips. This is the 3M foam tape that I just got, and I'm crazy about. It's so easy to use and so lovely that it doesn't stick to my hands every time I try to use it, and it's just so easy to use. So I'm just trimming up a couple of little pieces to go on the leaves that stick out, and then we're going to remove all the backing. And here, if I ever have any foam tape that kind of sticks over, I just use my mini snips and trim it off. I have no problem with that, and with this it's even easier because it's such an easy tape to work with, I find. So I kind of just trim it off and then move on with my day instead of trying to trim pieces to fit the shape exactly, because I find that can be difficult. So I just kind of, and then I'm trying to, my base wants to keep opening because it's quite a heavyweight cardstock, so I kind of have to keep trying to hold it down when I want to do something. But yeah, I'm just going to remove the backing from the foam tape, and then we're going to line it up on the base however I want my design to be, and then we're going to stick it down. But I do find this foam tape a lot easier to work with. And you can rip it. Like, you don't have to bring in scissors, you can rip it. For the small pieces, I would still advise using scissors just because it'd be more precise, but you can actually rip the pieces, and I did with the long ones. So yeah, here we're just going to bring it in, and I'm going to find out how I want it laid down, and then I'm going to lay it down. And then I'm going to bring in my shears and just trim off any excess cardstock that's hanging off the edges. You could make an envelope big enough to fit this. I'm going to show you how I made an envelope here in a minute, but I didn't. I chose just to trim it off. I think that it looks really neat when you have things kind of hanging outside of the image, so or the card base, sorry. I think that makes it kind of seem like there's more going on outside of the image, which kind of makes it look more cohesive, I think. And of course, again, I couldn't resist. I had to add some bling. So I added some Studio Katia Icy Sparkle crystals. I'm in love with these things. They're little crystals with a whole bunch of glitter inside of them. Once again, I think it's a bit difficult to see on camera, but in person, they're just stunning. And then I realized that I forgot to add some white highlights to the flowers and the leaves. So I am going to do that. This isn't a necessary step. I find that it just adds a bit more life to the image, if that makes sense, just because you're adding quite a white highlight. So it adds kind of more dimension to the image. I love how it looks, so I have a tendency to do it on everything that I color. But again, this isn't necessary. This is just an added step. I mean, multiple steps in here aren't necessary. You don't have to add glitter and you don't have to add gems. I think that this would have been stunning without those. I just have a tendency towards adding all the things. And I have them, so I want to use them. I try not to hoard too many things because it's just more stuff. And I'm not a person of much clutter. I don't enjoy that. So, but yeah, I just brought in my white gel pen and added some highlights here and there. And there's no real rhyme or reason to where I put them. I just kind of look at my image and add them where I think that they would look good. So there's no real rhyme there. And then here I have my punch board, and you can see that I had to cut a piece of cardstock down to 7 5/8, and then we're going to score at the 2 1/3, I believe, because that is the size for a 3x6 card. So I'm just going to score it and line it up. And if you guys want a more in-depth video on how to use your 1, 2, 3 envelope punch, let me know, because I can absolutely do that too. I do also have a video on how to use this to make Slimline card envelopes. So I'll link that up in the card if you want to check that out, because you can use this to make like mine are usually I believe 3.5 by 8.5 for my Slimline cards. They're in that range right there. So I have used my 1, 2, 3 punch board to make envelopes for my big Slimline cards. And I do like to round the edges of the envelope. That's just a preference. Again, you can leave them pointy if you like. I just like them rounded, so that's what I'm going to do here, and it rounds them, so that's perfect. And I am going to just reinforce the folds on the back of each fold here. And I picked a purple cardstock out of my stash. I'm not even sure where I got this cardstock. I've had it for so long. And then I just double check that it's going to fit in there. And then I'll add some, I believe this is 1/4 inch score tape on both the side flaps. I never put it on the bottom flap simply because I'm always worried that I'll miss the flaps, and then I'll have extra tape in there, and then I can't use the envelope because you don't want to seal the envelope closed. So this is just kind of how I do it. I always just add it to the 2 bottom flaps and then fold up the bottom flap on top of it. And then I don't have to worry about there being extra glue in my card not fitting. And I did trim off just the top there of the inside flap just to make it a little easier to close. And then I just kind of sealed it up. And you can see here that my card fits beautifully. And then I couldn't resist adding the stamp onto the envelope as well. I'm just going for a very matchy vibe. So I have the Wilted Violet Oxide ink again, and I'm just going to stamp that on top of the envelope. So I kind of have a matching look. And it's kind of a nice simple way to tie in your envelope without having to do tons of mail art on your envelope, unless you want to, of course. I mean, you could then go more in depth. You could color this in with pencil crayons or something. I'm not going to. So I'm going to write the address on top, and then I'm going to mail it out. So I'm just going to hold this up so you guys can see it in all its glory, see how pretty it is, see all that sparkle and shine in the background there, and then the stamp on the inside. So that is the video I have for you guys this week. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like it, please leave me a like, leave me a comment. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I do a new video every Monday, and then I post whenever I can join in hops or anything like that. So please consider subscribing. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye for now.